What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's Traders Mindchat show. We've got a juicy topic for you today. We're going to be talking about greed and how do you know when to sell? Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Mike. Go ahead, type into the chat. Let me know that you are here, that you're alive, and we will hop into things. Um, First off, I want to share with you this question that prompted today's discussion. Here's a question. How do you know when to sell? My stock is so hot, it's going to the moon. Greed is taking over. I've had this problem for a few times, often give it back when I don't really scale out, but how to know when to scale out for max profitability. So, a few things on this, and I think that there's a couple of different ways that we can tackle this question here. So, the way that I like to think about tackling this is really two ways to tackle the question of how do you know when to sell. So the first way to know when to sell is to number one, tackle it head on, which will give you a bunch of different tactics. This is how I used to approach problems. I think that this is how a lot of people tackle problems. And then there's the longer way, but I think that this gets more at the root of the problem, tackling the mindset and the underlying beliefs. So, on this show, we are going to tackle both. We're going to tackle both. So, let's hop on into it. So, first off, right, I've got a question for you guys to start digging into mindset. And the question is that we're all in the pursuit of freedom, right? So the first thing is, would you like more freedom or less freedom? Well, let's start there. Go ahead, type into the chat and uh, let me know if you would prefer more freedom or less freedom. Just put more or less. Let me know. I know that we've got at least a few people here that are watching. I see Caleb. Uh, got a bunch of other people watching over on YouTube, a few people on X. Yeah, of course, more freedom, right? I think that we all want more freedom. Thank you for popping in and putting that answer. All right. So with that in mind, I'd like to ask another question. I'd like to ask one more question. Here's another. That's a good response. More if I am disciplined. That came in from. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Alak. Yeah, and Caleb. Caleb's getting at the heart of it too. All right. So let me ask you this question: Freedom is. Freedom is. What do you guys think? I posed this question over on Twitter. I posed this question over on X. And I got some responses. I'll share this with you, but I'm curious, well, what you think of this. Freedom is, how do you define freedom? Freedom is the ability to do what you want, or freedom is the ability to do what you ought. Go ahead, type into the chat. Let me know what your answer is. Got some interesting responses over on when I did this poll just the other day, and here's the results of that poll. Right, 71% of people said that freedom is the ability to do what you want. 28% said that it's the ability to do what you ought. I ran a similar poll over on Instagram, and it was even more skewed towards having the ability to do what you want. I used to feel the exact same way, that freedom is the ability to do what I want. Um, I used to think that adhering to rules, structure, having to stick to some sort of a plan, and doing what the plan dictates when the plan dictates. I used to think of all those things as kind of being the antithesis to what I was after. It almost felt kind of like slavery. You guys feel that way? That's how I used to feel about, uh, all this rules and structure and those kind of things. And one of the reasons why I wanted to get into trading was for freedom, right? Financial freedom, the ability to do what I want. But then, after thinking about it a little bit more, as it turns out, the freedom to do what you want makes you a slave as well. So, if you have the freedom to do what you want, then you become a slave to your whims, your emotions, because whatever I feel like I want to do, I'm going to go and do that. So, are you sticking to a plan? Are you sticking to any kind of rules? Or are you doing things more so by the seat of your pants? This is a very interesting take on freedom. I haven't, I didn't think about this as deeply until recently, right? The ability to do what you want versus the ability to do what you ought, right? So if we are after trading success and we know what it takes to be successful in trading, right? Part of what we need to be successful in trading is structure, adherence to plans, and the things like knowing when to buy and sell and all those kinds of things. That's having the ability to do what we ought, right? So there is structure, there is focus. The freedom to do what we want is moving away from that and doing whatever we want, whenever we want, however we feel. And that in trading does not work. It at best you become a boom and buster, and that's what I was for more than a decade. Um, if freedom is the ability to do what you want, what you ought, and you're in the pursuit of that, it makes it easier to turn off greed, right? So if you have think about that. If you have the ability to do what you ought, then it makes it a lot easier to turn off greed. Why? Why would it be easier to turn off greed if you have the ability to do what you ought? Because now you're doing what you ought to be doing, right? You ought to be making plans. You ought to be following those plans. Those plans ought to be rooted in something concrete that's known to be to lead towards success. You ought to know what you're doing. You ought to understand the statistics of the trades that you're putting on. So if we have the ability to do what we ought, if freedom is the ability to do what we ought, then it makes it a lot easier to turn off greed, doesn't it? But if we have the ability to do what we want, then I think that we become a slave to our whims and our emotions. And it makes it a lot harder to turn off greed, right? Because if I see a trade, right, and I think that we're in the perfect environment now for greed to start to sit in. Uh, let's take a quick look at just the major indexes, right? Let's take a look over here at the Nasdaq. Let me put this back on over here. Here's the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ has rallied off of its lows and it's been a steady move straight up, right? So from the low to where we're at now, it's been a 12% move in about 2 weeks. That's a big move. So doing what we want, we might be like, oh man, I want to get in and maybe you didn't buy down here. Maybe you're seeing the steady move up and it's like, I've got to get in. I've got to get in. I'm feeling like I've just got to be in. I don't want to miss this. I'm feeling all sorts of fear, all sorts of FOMO. Um, you know, let me just buy here and try to make something happen. Well, that's doing what you want, right? If you want to get in, you could get in. Is it doing what you ought? And how do you know what you ought to do? Yes, yes. So exactly. We have to go against these primal urges. That's certainly one way to put it. So how do you go against these primal urges? So one way to go against these primal urges is to develop a business plan. That's why I wrote this new ebook to help you write a business plan. And the reason why is just having a conversation uh, with someone about this is that so many of us have trading hobbies. So many of us will hop on live streams. So many of us will follow a bunch of people on Twitter or X or Instagram or wherever. So many of us will study, read books, listen to talking heads, and dive deep, deep, deep down the rabbit hole. And what we end up doing is developing hobbies, just like how you would know, like the all the different stats of your favorite baseball team, or if you're watching some other sport, right? Maybe you've got all the gear. Maybe you know all the players' names, their stats, the team's win and loss record. You feel like you've got a horse in the race. When they do well, you feel great. When they don't feel well, you also have a good time complaining about it to everybody. As a Jets fan, I know how that is, but what you end up with is a trading hobby. And the thing with hobbies is that we spend an awful lot of time and an awful lot of money on our hobbies, and they typically don't make us a lot of money. So, what we need to do is transform our hobby into a business, and we need to take all the different things that we've learned and add some structure to it. And that's what this new ebook will help you do: the Trading Success Blueprint, the ultimate guide to crafting your trading business plan for profit. It occurred to me that even the term trading business plan uh, is probably daunting for a lot of people. I've got two business degrees. I've got a bachelor's and I have a master's in business administration. And if I didn't have those, I would probably think that, yeah, a business plan is pretty daunting. One of the things that I had to do for both of those degrees was write out business plans as the final project. And yes, it can feel that way, but it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. So I put together this guide to say, okay, here's a step by step of how you go about doing a business plan for your trading. And it's going to be a living document for you guys. So here is the link to where you can get this ebook. And so there it is. I just put the link into the chat. But let's talk a little bit about some of the tactics, right? So if you're approaching, well, how do you know when to sell? Here's some of the selling tactics that I use, right? So there's four different selling tactics that I use. I sell into strength on the way up. I will backstop trades as new support levels develop. I will sell based on danger signals, and I will sell at a stop loss, right? So three ways for the market to pay me. One way to make sure that my losses are capped and that I keep my, if since we're talking about business, right? Well, that my cost of doing business is small. And that basically allows me to do this, right? I thought that I had this image up, but let's get this uh, image on here. Right? It basically allows me to have this. Picture yourself at a movie theater. You're in a movie theater and you walk into the theater. It's important to know where all the exits are, right? It's important for a movie theater to have multiple exits. The ones that you might have for your trading are those four. If you're, I don't know, oblivious, then you just walk into the theater, you sit down in the front row, you don't know where any of the exits are, and then you're stuck watching this terrible movie. And well, you sit there until the end. But if you know where the exits are, you could leave the movie at any time. If it turns out to be a great movie, then you stick it to the end. If it turns out to be absolutely terrible and you want to leave in the first 5 minutes, you know exactly where the door is. That's what having all these different types of exits can do and help for you. So I see a question that just came in from Caleb. So what is the difference between a backstop and a stop loss? Excellent question. So let's pull up, show you trade that I'm in right now. So let's go over to VIRT. Got this trade on, and I'll turn off the danger signals for now, but we could come back to the danger signals. All right, so I've got this trade on VIRT. I started the position down here at $27.71, and my initial stop, my initial stop loss was at $26.45. Now, just to give you a little bit of background on why I selected that area, the reason why I selected $26.45 is because it's below price structure. So on this day here, right on, well, what is that? That's August 2nd. Price pushed lower, reversed higher, right? And so it did that right at a key level, right at that purple line. That's the 21-day exponential moving average. I've observed many trades through the years. And for the ones that I like, that tends to be a spot where I want to be held. Not where I necessarily want to buy off of, but I at least want the 21-day exponential moving average to be held. So when I see action like this, it helps tell me, okay, price reacted to that level and it found some support. Wonderful. Then I'll take a look at this and I'll say, all right, does that level line up on any other time frame? So there's a couple of time frames that I'm interested in. One of them happens to be the weekly time frame. So I come over to a weekly chart and I find, this is the prior week's low. Great. So now I've got multi-time frame confluence. I've got both a weekly low, I've got a daily low, and even if I come over to a 30-minute chart, I could see that stop loss, that price structure very clearly on this time frame. So that's one of the things that's important for me. So great. I have my entry, I've got my stop loss. Then as price starts to progress and develop new areas of support, when I raise my stop loss, I call that a backstop. That's how I differentiate between what a stop loss is and when I go and I raise that, right? So that way there's no confusion. So my backstop is now at $27.71, which is my break-even point. So right now, I've taken a couple of scale outs on this trade already, and I'm sitting on profits. The rest is gravy. There's no initial capital risk in this. So I could just sit with this, and I'm not risking any of my capital on here. Some of you know I'm going away on vacation next week, heading down to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And this is a trade that I don't have to worry about. My stop loss is in. I don't have to sit here and babysit the trade. Not that I would really be doing much of that anyway, but I'm going to be fairly disconnected next week. We won't have any of the live streams. I'll restart the live streams the following week, but I'm because of the backstop, I'm comfortable sitting with this, right? And I've taken off some gains. I don't have any risk, so that's what I do. So that's the difference between a backstop and a stop loss. So hopefully that answers the question. Let's see, we've got another question coming in here from uh, BTO. Uh, do you mentor traders with different systems than yours, or only if they utilize your system? This is a fantastic question, BTO. I'm so glad that you asked this question because I've actually started to restructure our group coaching program. So our group coaching program is a program where we have a private Discord, and we have a variety of different people in there. Many of them have read my books. Many of them have studied the same kind of people that I've studied, namely guys like William O'Neill, Mark Minervini. Some of them have also studied Jesse Livermore, Van Tharp, Nicholas Darvis, all those types. Um, and so we're all basically speaking the same language. The way that I'm restructuring this program is to make sure that people that are coming into the group coaching program that they already have at least some sort of basis of knowledge of the language. So uh, the way that we're doing that, right? The way that we're going to be doing that moving forward, I would prefer for people to at least have read the Trading Mind Wheel, right? Or to have to be in our research program first, right? Because in our research program, part of what I do is I give my daily thoughts, analysis. I share everything that I'm doing, right? So like this trade, everybody was like, "Hey, here's a trade that I'm interested in. Here's why. Here's a setup." And when even deeper than what we did just now. And we have a free 2-week trial to that program. So it gives people the opportunity to come in and see what I'm all about. If you like my takes on things, and it also gives you an opportunity to get some email support too, because you can email me and I'll answer a question. What the group coaching does is it gives you a community feel. So everybody's in there. You can be in there as often as you want, talking to other people and bouncing ideas off of each other. And so many people grow that way. Iron sharpens iron, as they say. And it's one of the things that's helped me through the years as well, being around other people that are speaking the same language. We also have private sessions where we'll hop into a Google Meet and we'll chat, right? So that way it's not just type into a comment field and it's kind of it's decent, right? Like because you and I are talking, but you would be have the ability to be on camera if you wanted to, and we'd have the microphones open and having an open dialogue and going back and forth. So that's what the group coaching is. I'm also going to be doing mentoring, right? So one-on-one mentoring. So right now, for people that go and you buy a copy of the Trading Success the blueprint, let me put that back up on the screen. So people that get this, not this, but this, people that sign for that, there'll be an offer for a one-on-one coaching session with me. And for those people that take that offer, we'll work through whatever it is that you want to work through during that one-on-one session. And then if uh, you're interested in taking that further, we could have that conversation. But that's basically where things are at. Let's see, here's a question or comment from Caleb. I often use OCOs. I'll have an original stop at X with a trailing stop loss as well. That way I can move up a stop if support moves up, but still have a trailing stop. Yeah, that's good too. I know people that operate in a similar way. I actually believe Dennis Wilborn, who I co-host the Trading Truths podcast with, uses trailing stops in that way. I used to use trailing stops. I used to use not a hard trailing stop, but I used to sell based off of moving averages to keep things simple. Right. So it would be like, all right, looks like VIRT right now is holding the 10-day exponential moving average, that thin green line. So I'll just sell if price closes below that area or crosses below that area, and that'll be my sell. That's what I used to do. What I do now is this new thing, or relatively new, I've been doing this for a little while, called danger signals, where I have a long laundry list of all the different signals that tell me that momentum is starting to shift against a trade. And then when the weight of evidence stacks up too much, it's kind of like that. You ever play that game called Tip the Waiter? Right? I don't know why I just thought about that, but I was thinking about that. I had this game called Tip the Waiter as a kid. Basically, he was holding the tray, and when you would stack up too much stuff on the tray, it would tip over. Well, when you have too much danger signals on a trade, you could tip over the trade. And so I talk about that in my other book, The Trading Mind Wheel. You could also get that one. That one's on Amazon. And let me put a. Did I put a link? Yeah, I put a link to the research program. You could get the Trading Mind Wheel on Amazon. Fantastic book. Mark Minervini, by the way, wrote the foreword to that book. Uh, I might be seeing him soon when I head down to Myrtle. But let's see. So if you click on, I got the danger signals, right? We're talking about danger signals. I got the danger signals coded. So I could, as I'm trading something, I could see right away how many danger signals there are on a particular trade. And that makes life a little bit easier than, like, I know all my danger signals, but it makes it a little bit easier to spot this. And this danger signals indicator I had made by Brennan Shapiro from Amphibian Trading. It's free, right? You see how danger signals from the trading mind wheel. So I had him code this up for me, and yeah, it's for free. And I think if I'm trying to find, where do I grab the share? I want to share this with you on here. See where I could grab the link. Is it this? Yeah, there you go. Copy link. And I'll post that into the chat as well. So if you guys have TradingView, you could get this indicator and put it there. All right, let's see what other questions do we have. Still trying to figure out which ends up being the most profitable. So that's an interesting question, right? So and I think that the thing that, before we figure out what's most profitable, well, we need to figure out our full business plan, right? Like, that's why it's almost like putting the cart before the horse. Like, well, what's going to be the most profitable thing? Well, if we write up a plan, right? And that's why this goes through every single step that you need to have your business plan. Well, not just what are you going to trade and how you go, like where you enter, where you exit. That's a trading plan. Your business plan is, what are you analyzing, what markets you're going to trade, what's getting baked into the sauce for your analysis, how you're going to position size, well, what is your end objective, when and what stats are you going to be tracking, your different types of emergency plans, all that stuff, everything that you could think of for how a business would operate is going to be in your trading success blueprint. And that's how you're going to fill all that stuff out. So that way, it's not about figuring out, well, what's most profitable. Well, what's in your business plan, right? Because it's not about what you want to do for this trade or that trade. It's about what you ought to do, and what you ought to do is following your plan, because that's how you become successful. Everybody in Market Wizard says this, right? If you're following me, it's not just what I say. You probably know who Mark Minervini is. That's what he says. You know about William O'Neill. That's what he says. Livermore, Darvis, Van Tharp, all these guys. Everybody has a plan, and they adhere to their plan. You need a plan. That's what you ought to be doing. Let's see. Well, what's next here? Um, BTO have been trading from pre-COVID and followed SMB trading plan, creating a playbook. Therefore, it's a different system. Would that be something that you can work with? Perhaps, perhaps. Uh, I'm familiar with Mike Bellafiore. I've spoken a few times with Dr. Steenbarger. I have not read Mike Bellafiore's book. Um, if you've also have read O'Neill and Minervini's work, then you're probably that. Then we could at least talk the same language. I'd say the best thing would be to let's set something up, see where it goes, and then if we want to take things a few steps further, we can. Yeah. So yeah, BTO. Reach out to me, send me a message, and we'll set something up. Any other questions? Here's one that I missed. Sorry about this. Alak. Uh, what advice would you give someone having an edge in the market but can't execute with consistency? I'd be curious what the trouble is. I'd want to dig deeper. I think that's the first step, is digging deeper, rather than giving some generic advice. Uh, I'm very curious to learn uh, why you're having trouble executing consistently. It could be something that's due to what we spoke about earlier, right? It could be due to this. If there's some sort of underlying belief that says that I want to do what I want versus doing what I ought, well, a lot of people have an edge, but do they really have an edge? If you have, if you've, let's say that you've read my book, or you've read Mark's book, or you read some other book, Mike Bellafiore's book. Let's say that you've read these books and you're like, I know what to do, but you have this underlying belief that says that I do what I want. Well, sometimes following the plan isn't the easy thing. Sometimes the plan is in a drawdown. Everybody experiences drawdowns. Every single trader experiences drawdowns. That's the periods where it might not be so easy to follow the plan. Every trader experiences a losing streak, or every system experiences a losing streak. The difficult thing is to stick with that system when it's in a drawdown, and continue to execute that system perfectly when it's going through its drawdown period. The easy thing to do is to say, well, I don't want to follow this anymore. Let me go find something else that's working right now. Let me go find the next trade. That's one of the reasons why most people aren't successful at this, at least not long term. Part of trading well and trading with consistency and getting to a level of freedom is doing what you ought to do. What you ought to do is stick to the plan, stick to the system, continue to execute, be aware of the types of drawdowns, losing streaks that there might be. Well, what's the average gain of this system? And then once you know that, then you have a better yardstick by which to measure yourself by. I think that one of the problems that some people face is that, oh, I'm following this system or I've read this book and I don't know if it's the system that's doing poorly right now or if it's me being able to execute this because I'm still learning. Right? I felt that way for a very long time. The way that you could start to get out of that part, right, is to follow it. You're following the system. You need to know what the stats are of that system, and are you in line, above, or below? That's one of the things that'll help you figure that part out. Another thing will be getting a mentor or a coach to help guide you so that way sometimes it's difficult to see our blind spots. I'm Aside from trading, I'm also a fitness enthusiast. I've been going to the gym 5 days a week for a very long time. I've run multiple marathons. I've got a personal trainer that I see well when I go to the gym. He'll still correct me. I've been going to this guy for years now. Uh, he'll still correct me. He'll still correct my form. He'll still give me new things to do. Going to the gym for years, I'm in halfway decent shape. I still need coaching and mentoring. Why? Right? Because there's things that they're able to see that we're not able to see for ourselves. So, one of the things that can help you is knowing your stats, knowing the stats of the system, being able to evaluate yourself versus those stats. So, coaching yourself in a way, but also, if you're able to do it, getting a coach, getting a mentor, that's something that'll help you too. Let's see here. Love that question. Is it me or is it the system? Yeah. So BTO, let me know if that answered your question or if you still have this question. Here's another one from Caleb. I used to run 3 days a week. It became a chore, and now it's 1 to 2 days a week if I am lucky, and I dread it instead of looking forward to it. Um, so, hmm. One of the things that I would think about with this, right? So just to try to relate this to trading too. So if I'm if I have a specific goal, let's say that the goal is to run a marathon, right? I don't know if that's something that you're training for, but uh, I would, as somebody that has run a few marathons in my day, if I have that specific goal, and when I did have that specific goal, I would make sure that I'm running 5 days a week. On my days off, I would be doing strength training, right? And I think I would give myself off one day, well, where I'm just a complete rest day, not running, not lifting, not doing anything. But I would make sure that I would run on those days. Why? Because I had a specific goal and I knew that in order for me to reach that goal, I've got to do this. If I don't do this, then I'm not hitting that goal. If I do this, it gives me a chance. Very similar with trading. If we do what we're supposed to do, if we do what we ought to do, then we give ourselves a chance to win. If we don't do what we ought to do, then we have no chance. Does that make sense? Um, Let's see. Any other questions? We're a little bit over, but that's okay because, yeah, again, I will be in Myrtle Beach next week. So next week, I'm actually going to do the Trading Truths podcast with Dennis. That's going to be on Monday at noon. I'll be on the road most likely from that, so you'll probably get to meet the family. I'll be hopping on from this. We'll see how that show goes. It'll be interesting, but that'll be the only live stream for the week next week. So happy to answer one or two more questions if you guys have them. Otherwise, we'll start to wrap things up here. And hey, by the way, if you have not already liked or subscribed, make sure that you do that. It helps to make sure that you get the alert that this show is on, but it also helps to boost this out to more people. So if you like what we're doing here, making sure that you like and subscribe will certainly help us out a lot. And we also put out a free newsletter. If you're not already subscribed to that free newsletter, go and get that. It's over on marrowwealth.com/newsletter. Let's see if there's any other comments or questions coming in. No? All righty. So it looks like that'll be that. Want to wish you guys all a great and wonderful weekend. I'll talk to you soon when I get back. And have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, much love, and God bless everybody.
Hey, thanks so much for sticking around to the end. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button down below and become a part of the Marrow Wealth community. And make sure that you check out some of the other videos on the channel. They're exactly what you need to see. And leave a comment down below. I read all of them. Leave a comment.